Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the first long form video here on our YouTube. My name is Dee, and this is an introduction into my colorful life. What you see on the screen are some materials, some of my go tos that I love to color with, especially when it comes to coloring in cozy coloring books. And we're going to do the page that you see on the screen today. We're using the Cali Art brush markers and the Keiko Color mechanical color pencils. And I'll talk more about these in just a minute. Okay, so firstly, these are some of the coolest color pencils I have ever used, and I have been doing visual art for more than a decade, very nearing 2 decades now. And I love these. They are super soft. You can sharpen them. The color payoff is fantastic. They blend beautifully and they're mechanical, meaning that you can refill them and it creates much less waste for the environment. So I just love them all around. And especially when it comes to adding some texture to these flat coloring pages. Also, alcohol markers. I love using alcohol markers to color with because you can get a gorgeously flat wash of color. As you'll see, we get started with by coloring in these I guess you could call them like leaves. I can't remember what type of leaf this is supposed to be, but yeah, I love it. I love coloring them. They're very fun. And just being able to lay down the flat washes of color before adding the texture is so satisfying to me. It is really just a way to experiment with how colors interact with each other and how you can shift the overall feel of a color by using a different tone on top or value, not tone, but using a different value on top to blend on top of a certain base color. It's just so much fun, and I really, really enjoy it. But before I get too deep into all of that, I want to introduce myself to you guys. Let's get started. Again, my name is Dee, and I have been collectively engaging in content creation of multiple forms for I want to say about 7, nearly 8 years now. I've yet to go viral or anything like that, but I have really just enjoyed being able to share my perspectives and my talents and just different methods of sharing bits and pieces of who I am as a person through different avenues. I am 28 years old at the publishing of this video, and I am a wife and a mom. I thoroughly enjoy my experience in marriage. My spouse is wonderful. He is just such a lovely, lovely human being, and we really and truly are the best of friends. I am so lucky to have the kind of love that I have from my husband. And through his love, I've been able to come into finding hobbies that I enjoy that I can do for fun. And I say that as someone who ran 2 separate small businesses over the span of the last 7 years, which was the vehicle for me to get into content creation. I was selling my art full time as a visual artist and crafter very shortly after becoming a mom. And after doing that for a few years and really delving into the study of cosmetics and how these different products work and how to make them work better for myself and for my skin and for my child's skin and for my husband's skin and hair and for those around me. I uh I did a pivoting move into the world of cosmetics formulation. And that was the birthing of my longest running small business to date, Daikin Cosmetics. I was the proud owner and curator behind that brand for 4 years, almost 5 years we were in operation. And it was self-funding. We did not get any funding from the government for the running of that business. And I made a lot of mistakes and I learned so many lessons in operating the business in that way. And if you were to ask me if I would go back and change certain things, no, I wouldn't. I learned so much through that experience, and I am so thankful that I learned so much through that experience. And I would not go back and change anything about it because those were lessons that I absolutely needed to learn. I had to figure that stuff out because it made me who I am as a 28-year-old mom and entrepreneur. Um, it was hard lessons, of course. And I do wish that some things were easier so that I could make better decisions. But it was worth it. All of it was worth it. I will say that. I can absolutely 10 toes down assuredly say that in the midst of all that, I am so thankful that things went the way that they went. I learned so many things about myself, so many things about the balance of life, so many things about how to navigate being able to turn my brain off from work and going back into mom and wife mode, and how to also honor the spaces that I was in at various stages of business operation. I mean, it really and truly does not get any better than that, to be able to learn so much about yourself in the midst of running a small business that I started to help people like me who had come out of lower income areas and wanted access to beauty and cosmetic products that actually worked without having a massive price tag attached to them. And I was so incredibly thankful that I was able to use what I had, which was a love for knowledge and something of a background in science and product creation. And I consider it a success even today. Although we have had to make the difficult decision to temporarily close our doors so that we could pivot and come back even stronger, um, I don't regret it. I don't regret any of it. Even with us having to decide to close for a little bit, I don't regret doing that at all. I feel like being able to look at the numbers and being able to see how the operations are going and to make such an informed decision to be like, you know what? Honestly, we do need to stop for a little bit and we need to pivot and change some things. I think that's really important. And I'm very thankful that I had the presence of mind to do that before running it into the ground and essentially destroying everything that I had worked so hard for up until that point. All right. So, more about me, being that I did close the doors temporarily to my business. I am aiming to be a full-time nail technician. I am actively preparing to enroll in school where I can go and study to get my license within my state so that I can operate in a salon environment or in my own suite, whichever one is better for me by the time that I finish school and get my licensing. And I'm just really excited about how these things can go and what they'll look like in my very near future. Something else about me, I have been with my husband for 9 years as of 2025. We started dating at the end of 2016. And that is just so amazing to me. Like, wow. um, it has been such a beautiful journey together. And I am so incredibly thankful that we found each other when we did. I was in my very early 20s and he was in his mid 20s. And we found each other at such a pivotal moment within both of our lives. And we have really stuck together and we have grown and changed and developed so much over the course of these 9 years. And I can't wait to see what our lives look like in the next nine and nine more after that, and so on and so on. I'm just so excited. And I love him. I love him so very much. And he loves me in such a tangible way. I don't have to question whether or not he loves me. And that's so important, especially being that I grew up as a fat child, and I do not remember a time where I was not being made to feel less than because of my physical appearance. And he was the first person to really look at me and see me as a whole person and not just a summation of features or a summation of parts. And I cannot thank him enough for that. So, this is just a special shout out to my husband. I love you so incredibly much. Thank you for loving me so incredibly much for all these years. And thank you for continuing to love me in all my iterations and changes, and loving me through the hard times where I am so in my head and I feel stuck in my decision making. You motivate me and push me to make decisions and go for the things that I want to go for, and to dream out loud and to chase those dreams. And you are always right there beside me and right behind me to give me that pivotal push that I need. So thank you. Thank you incredibly much for loving me the way that you do and for supporting me the way that you do, because I could not do any of this without that love and support. I so incredibly much am thankful for you in the way that you show up for me. I can't thank you enough. Something else, I had some questions and answers that were asked to me by my intimate community. We have a Discord server where we are in community with each other and we share cozy hobbies like cozy gaming and coloring and other cozy hobbies. And I had some questions that came from some of our community members, so I want to answer those in this video as well. I feel like my answers to these questions will just give you a little more insight into me as a person. And yeah. Now, if you walk away from this video and you're like, wow, there was so much information, you said so many different things, but I really want to know more, please leave them in the comments below. And I will do my best to put them in the next video, because I will be back with more footage and more yapping, as I affectionately say. I absolutely will be back to talk to y'all more and continue to build more community with you. So yeah, let's get into our first question. The first question is, I would love to hear about how you first got interested in art and color theory. Now, as a young child, I always had an eye for visual art, mostly from watching like my older cousins be able to draw. But I knew that I didn't want to make the same kind of art as them, but I love to watch them draw and to watch them color these scenes in. It was always so fascinating to me, even as a very young child, between the ages of like 3 to 5. So by the time that I had gotten in school, I was already able to create people, and I loved the way that certain colors look next to each other. I've always had an eye for color, And it was so satisfying to me to see how color worked together. And it became a special interest of mine that carries even until this day. But I remember the moment that I began to really take art seriously in my early teenage years. So I was in middle school, getting ready to go into high school. And I started to see art as something tangible, something that I could create and leave an impact with. And color theory was my way to do that. And I'm so thankful that I did that. I'm so thankful that I took it seriously and took the time to really learn how to do these things and learn how these things work. And on top of that, I also had begun to take a pretty serious interest into makeup as well. So me learning color theory was a big way for me to figure out how to apply my makeup and how to make myself look how I want it to look. So yeah, it is just something that I am intensely interested in and I love to talk about it. And I love to use what I know about color theory to pick out the color schemes for the coloring pages that I do. Which leads into one of the next questions. How do you come up with the color palette for a coloring page? And truthfully, I pull from multiple sources. Sometimes I just look at my materials and I'm like, okay, I really love how these two look together, and these complement this one, and these complement that one. So I'm going to use this as my palette. And sometimes I'm just like, I'm in a mood for purples. Let's see how many purple markers I have. And, are they mostly cool or are they mostly warm? If they're mostly cool, what other cool tones do I have to play around with to play off of these purples? Or if it's a warmer palette, okay, how warm do I want to go? What kind of neutrals do I want to use? I build color palettes kind of like outfit building in my mind. And I like to do a lot of things that are complementary and also things that are kind of analogous. So, like things that would make sense next to each other on a color wheel. Speaking of, color wheels are a wonderful tool that I absolutely recommend using if you are looking to get more into actually like planning a palette for color. You can do them digitally. There's color picker websites and apps you can use. But yeah, if you just learn the basics of color theory, it is incredibly helpful. The next question is, are there any specific materials, coloring books, and other mediums that I started with? So before I got into coloring as a cozy hobby, I absolutely was a fanatic for visual art. And what started me towards coloring was getting back into my mixed media sketchbooks with alcohol based markers and different types of inking pens and color pencils. And I absolutely fell so in love with creating things where I could do washes of the colors with the alcohol markers and even acrylic markers too. Um, and being able to play around with how color interacted with each other and, doing layering with the alcohol markers and being able to add different types of shading with the different color pencils and how it would change the tonality of the piece overall. That is what motivated me to get into coloring, and also to seeing other people making these beautiful pages with alcohol based markers and color pencils. I'm like, oh, I could do that. I'm already familiar with these materials and I absolutely love using them. I feel like it will translate really well. So that was how I started, and that's what I recommend. Now, for particular brands, I absolutely recommend Ohuhu, Cali Art. Both of them are very reliable, very good quality alcohol based markers, and that are fairly affordable from a consumer standpoint. Now, for color pencils, Keiko, and the company name is KACO. I absolutely recommend the refillable color pencils that you see me using on screen right now. They are fantastic. again, they blend beautifully, they layer very, very well together, and they come with refills by the exact same brand. So you know they're going to fit. And the refills are numbered just like the body of the pencil is. They're just wonderful. I 110% recommend them for sure. Not to mention, it's a pretty decent sized lead. I've been using these for months and still haven't had to put any refills in, and I use them nearly daily. So, yeah, like they're really, really good. I would compare them even to Prismacolor. Now, Prismacolor is another really good brand. Um, let's see. What's another brand of color pencils that are pretty good? Now, if you're on a budget, Crayola color pencils are pretty good too. You just gotta, work with them. Use them to the best of your ability. Layer them up real good. You don't have to color super hard with them. You can build up the amount of color over time. You start soft and build it up a little bit deeper. The material is not super important unless you have very particular preferences. Because you can make beautiful art with just about anything. But I absolutely recommend for coloring for this hobby alcohol markers so that you can get clean flat washes, color pencils to add some texture and to change the tonality of your piece overall. Those are my personal recommendations. And we have one last question. How do you genuinely enjoy and invest in this hobby without feeling like you could be doing something else with your time? And I'm going to tell you this from the standpoint of someone who is a mom, a wife, and a full-time responsible adult with more responsibilities than I have hands and hats to hold. You absolutely should be engaging in things that make you feel whole as a person outside of what capitalism will tell you you should be doing. It's wonderful to advance in your job and to advance in your career and to be the best parent that you can be and to be the best spouse that you can be, because these are things that are important. However, in the midst of being the best that you can be in all of those areas, it is so important to take care of yourself in the midst of that. You don't want to ever be in a position where capitalistic gain is the thing that pushes you further than taking care of your own mental well-being and your own mental health. It is so important to slow down and stop and understand that despite all of the titles and all of the responsibilities that you carry, that you have an obligation to take care of yourself. You have an obligation to show up for yourself and to touch base with your own well-being. Because if you are not okay, none of the things that you do will be okay either. I cannot show up in full capacity as a mom and a wife if I'm not taking at least a little bit of time to do things that fill my cup and make me feel more like a person at the end of the day. And take a moment to just catch my breath and remember, I am a person outside of the roles that I fulfill. And I want you, watcher, viewer, listener, to feel that too. You are worth the effort to put into yourself. You are absolutely worth all of that and then some. You are worth what it takes to be a fully realized person at any stage, at any age, wherever you are within your own journey to self-discovery. You are worth it. Period. It's not up for debate. Okay? And lastly, I don't have any more questions, but I do just want to leave a little more commentary as we continue to see more of the progress on this page. I am so incredibly thankful that I was able to share with you today. And I do hope that you come back so I can keep sharing more and more of my stories and my lived experiences, from my tips and tricks into the hobby of coloring, and also just life in general. Again, I'm 28 and I have lived quite a interesting and very full life. And I can't wait to see what else life has to offer for me. I really can't. It's so exciting to think about. Now, I'm not going to actually finish this entire page on camera. When recording, there was a moment where the very last of the footage ended up being corrupted, so I was able to salvage the majority of the footage. And what I will do is, in the community tab, I will post the finished page so y'all can just see how it came all together in the very end. If you have listened all the way to this point, I would so greatly appreciate a like and subscribe here to our channel, Dee's Colorful Life, where we will continue to share more about who we are and really who I am individually, but also who I am in the capacity of being a wife and in the capacity of being a mom. It is so incredibly special to me that I can share these bits and pieces of who I am and what makes me me. I thank you so very much for taking time out of your day to sit and listen to me talk and yammer on. And if you want to see something else done, I have a wish list of some other coloring books and materials that I would love to be able to experiment with. And I will also be sharing out of some of the other coloring books that I have on hand already. So if you are so motivated to support the growth and development of this channel as we continue to share cozy hobbies together and get closer and closer to being more self-actualized and self-realized, check out the description for those links. Thank y'all so very much. And I am going to let the music carry us to the ending of this video. Thank you.